going to do the share screen thing.
Yep.
So just a sec,
Okay.
that geared up and we are off to the races. All right. Well, welcome,
There we
welcome
go.
everybody. Thank you, Gary. I appreciate that endorsement. I appreciate what you've shared tonight. And all of you, it's one of those things in life where you're revealed something that you may have heard about before, but you just didn't know what it was or how it works. Well, strap on your seatbelts tonight because I'm going to lay this out for you in a way that's going to really resonate as real estate investor agents as well as real estate agents. So there's a lot of things, as well as, let's say, a citizen of the United States of America. That's another way of looking at this thing, because this applies to everyone, anyone who owns assets or has family with assets This is definitely going to be something that you're going to want to hear. I don't know if you've heard lately that the Biden administration is proposing to change inheritance taxes radically. They're proposing to change capital gains taxes radically. And so as a result of that, and I have lived that because I've been here and done that for many years, over 40 years now, buying, holding, and selling real estate. And there's a lot of things I've learned over that time. And one of them is that politics results in manipulation of the tax code. So all of the things that I've just mentioned resonate right now because there's something you can do about it. And the challenge is that most people don't know that there's something you can do about it. So stay tuned. I'm going to teach you about trust. I'm going to teach you about what it is and how it works and all that good stuff. And I think you're going to absolutely love it. So we are now talking to wealth builders. Just something about my background. I was the vice president and president of the Real Estate Leadership Association of America. And I took that organization, I transformed that into National RIA. So you may have heard of National RIA. I am the founding president of National RIA back in 1993. And now we have over 40,000 members nationwide. I was the vice president, now president emeritus of the Georgia Real Estate Investors Association, and 9-year board member there, and also the chairman of the Small Owners Council of the Apartment Association. So there's a lot of different things I've done in the industry, for the industry, with the industry, and definitely some things that I can let you know that were great benefits because of the fact that I learned them from some of these organizations and some of the fine folks that I was working with. Now that says October. Those are the wrong dates. Actually, we're going to be giving away 2 tickets to the upcoming Millionaire Jumpstart. And in fact, it's going to be August 27, 28, 29, 2021. I forgot to get this slide fixed, but that's going to be in, guess what, Gary? Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'm coming to Pittsburgh. Yeah, baby. So in fact, Josh has already asked me to come up there and speak and what have you. So I said, hey, we're just going to tie this in with another Millionaire Jumpstart, but this time we're going to do it in beautiful Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So those of you who live in the area, you're definitely going to want to join us for that. So today I'm going to give you a blueprint of how to buy and sell houses, help others, and give you residual income for the rest of your life and protect your assets too. So there's a lot of things that tie in with a thing called trust. Now, every time you hear something tonight that you love, I want to hear a yeah, baby. And you can just shout out from your seat right there. Yeah, baby, it's a good thing. Because I think you're going to have a lot of yeah babies tonight when we talk about this great thing called trust that's hidden from view. Most people don't know about it. Most people don't know how to use it. Certainly you've heard the term trust before, but you really didn't know what it was or how it worked. Now, to give you a little bit of background, this is my mom, God rest her soul. Her name was Georgina. She came to this country as a war bride. She came over on the Queen Mary. She was an immigrant. She had met the American trooper, love of her life. Everything was going to be fantastic in this new country. She got here and discovered he was an alcoholic and an abuser. And she said, I can't deal with that. I'm leaving him. And then I make the joke, and then she met my father, her second mistake. so, so it ended up being that it was just the two of us kind of against the world. And back then they didn't have programs. They didn't have things that were safety nets. And I learned how to fend for myself, fend for her. We were kind of a team together and supported one another. And I learned some valuable lessons. And this is us together at a Georgia Real Estate Investors Association just a few years ago, right? And that's when I was the president of the association. Give you a little bit more. This is one of our many vehicles. When a car cost more to fix than to get another one, we would just get another car. And in fact, you can tell on the tires here, there's a white wall on the back and a black wall on the front. We used to buy our tires one at a time. we used to know that there was rich people that actually traded all four tires at the same time. Pretty amazing. So we would buy our tires when we needed them, and we paid about $25 a piece for them. Our dining table was a Samsonite card table, if you remember those with the belly in the middle. Not as nice as this one, metal chairs, belly in the middle. That was our dining table until I was 17 years old. There was an oil burning furnace in the middle of the apartment. There was metal cabinets in the kitchen, brown commercial tile on the floor. That was my life. And in fact, our dining table was bought with S&H green stamps. If you remember, when you got gasoline or you got some groceries, they would give you the stamps in exchange for your business. And what you would do is take those stamps and put them in books, and that became the Bitcoin of the day. That was currency. And you could take that to the redemption store and you bought stuff. Well, we bought furniture for our apartment, and that's how we furnished our apartment. But I had the good fortune of meeting my mother's friends, and I called them aunts and uncles since I didn't have any aunts and uncles in this country, or brothers or sisters or cousins or uncles or aunts or grandparents. Nobody in the country but just the two of us. And this is Aunt Mabel and Uncle George. I learned some very valuable lessons from them. And I would say she was my first mentor, because at 8 years old, she told me that she had bought the duplex that they lived in. And she told me that the people on the other side paid enough money to cover the mortgage. And that meant that they were living for free. And that was a lesson, if you can just imagine, for an 8-year-old to hear that somebody's living for free. And here we were hiding out from the rent man. The rent man would knock at the door, and let us know, hey, we're here for the rent. And my mother would say, shh, don't answer the door. Don't answer the door. I said, why? She said, because I don't have the money, but I will have the money on Friday and I will just pay them then. So I learned what it's like to be on the other side of the door, no money, no ability to pay at that time. And I realized that there was another universe. And I learned about parallel universes, right? That here was Aunt Mabel. She was living for free. And here we were hiding out from the rent man. So those were powerful lessons to a young man. If you can just imagine, I learned some other things like, if it is to be, it is up to me. And sure enough, I started watching Aunt Mabel because she said she bought the duplex next door. And she said the people on one side were paying enough money to cover the mortgage and the other money was theirs. And then she bought the duplex on the other side. And then she bought another one and another one. Talk about target marketing, right? So she was buying up the street that she lived on. And pretty soon she called me and she said, come on over here and help me move. I said, move where? She said, a brand new house in a brand new subdivision, all brick home on a corner lot. I said, Aunt Mabel, how did you do this? And she said two words that changed my life. And that was accumulate, property, accumulate property, write that down. That was a valuable lesson for me to hear. And so, as a result of hearing that lesson, I started to pay attention. Now, at 18 years old, Aunt Mabel says to me, "You need to buy a house." I said, "Aunt Mabel, you go to banks and qualify for loans." I said, "I can't buy a house." I said, "I can't qualify for loans." She says, "Well, I don't know, but you need to meet my friend, Realtor Sue." And Realtor Sue, sure enough, comes over in her big old Cadillac, blue haired lady. She says, "Come on over." She said, "Get in the car. Let's go look at houses." And I'm going, I'm 18 years old, going to go look at houses, right? Well, sure enough, we found a house that I could buy. And this is the house right here in Charlotte, North Carolina. This is my first house. I bought that. I put that under contract at 18 years old because there was something that Realtor Sue knew that Aunt Mabel did not know. Realtor Sue knew about a thing called NENQ loans, non escalating, non qualifying loans. It was the best thing ever because for $45, you could step in and take over someone else's financing. And that was phenomenal. And of course, a great lesson to learn. So, sure enough, I did exactly that. And I had saved up money with my paper route and working at the Methodist home for the aging and things like that. I had saved up some money for down payment and I was able to step in and take over that existing financing on the property. But there was a valuable lesson with that too, because Congress, I put it under contract at 18 and then my birthday occurred right after my birthday, and that's 19. If we can mute that out, that'd be great. I would appreciate that. All right. So what happened was that
I'm muted.
1982, they passed a law called the Garment Germain Federal Depository Institutions Act. So as a result of that law, they eliminated the opportunity to do NENQ loans anymore. They put a law in place. And this law, though, when I went and read it, because as you can imagine, I was very upset to learn about this law because I had already now moved from Charlotte to Atlanta. The company I was with, and I kind of skipped college. I went for a year. I couldn't figure out why I was there. I told my mom I would go back if things didn't work out. And of course, I never went back. And that little piece of paper I thought was too costly because I could go ahead and go to work right away. Well, sure enough, I did. And the company I was with transferred me from Charlotte to Atlanta. And I took over a territory in Atlanta. It's pretty great. And they bribed me to sell this house. When I sold this house, I made a 37% profit in less than 2 years of ownership. And I said, there must be something to this real estate game. Well, sure enough, I came to Atlanta. I told the real estate agent, I want to buy another house the same way I bought the other house. And we were able to do that. And that was in 1980. And then they changed the law in 1982 when they passed that. And they said, you can't do that anymore. We're going to allow the banks to put the due upon sale clause in the mortgage. Well, all of a sudden, I couldn't believe that they had changed that, but sure enough, they had. Well, I went about reading the law and I found out something powerful and interesting, and it completely changed my life. And it is when a person places their property into their trust for estate planning purposes, the lender is prohibited from calling that loan due. So all of those due upon sale clauses that you're familiar with as real estate agents, just know there's an exception to that when you place your property in trust. Well, I found out that people could place their property into their trust, and I could buy the beneficial interest of that trust. I could buy the beneficial interest of that trust, and I could put that into my own thing. Well, sure enough, that was a powerful thing to learn, a powerful lesson to learn. And to this day, That's exactly what I do. I have never been to the bank. I have never qualified for a loan on a single family or small multifamily property. And I know that's like, what in the world is that? I have come to the twilight zone. I am a real estate agent. I've never heard those words before. I tell my clients, you're going to have to go to the bank and qualify for loans. I tell my sellers that my new buyer is going to come in with a new loan from the bank. And here this guy is telling me that you don't have to go to banks and you don't have to qualify for loans. Yes, I am telling you that. And yes, it is true. Now, why is that true? It's because of these amazing things that I'm teaching you about tonight called trusts. And this will be a game changer for you. This will be a powerful lesson when you learn this lesson. Sometimes people have to hear it more than once. But when you hear this, you're going to go, wow, this is earth shattering. This is game changing. And it's something that you're going to be very interested in. Well, sure enough, I went back to Charlotte, North Carolina, and that house was still there and it looked exactly like it did 30 years before. And I said, that was a powerful lesson as well. That if I had kept that house, if I'd kept the income off that house, oh my goodness, I'd have been hundreds of thousands of dollars richer simply by keeping that house. But that didn't happen because the company I was with bribed me to sell it. They told me, look, if you sell the house, we'll pay your closing costs for the new buyer. And when you come to Atlanta, if you'll buy another house, we'll pay your closing costs when you buy a new home. Well, sure enough, that's exactly what they did. And it taught me some valuable lessons to this day. But sure enough, I'm thankful that my mom taught me about, or had friends like Aunt Mabel. And one of the challenges that my mom had was that she didn't understand money. And in her world, money was something to be spent. And if you didn't have it, you spent it anyway. So she would borrow money at high interest rates, 22% interest. She got herself all in a bad spot, and she was just being eaten up with interest. I said, Mom, why don't you come and move in with me, and you pay me $100 a month and you cook some meals and wash some clothes. And I said, I want you to take the rest of the money. Our rent was $600 at the time. I said, take the other $500 and put it towards your debt. Well, sure as things would have it, a year and a half later, she was free and clear for the rest of her life. And that was a very powerful thing that I'm very pleased that I was able to give her, because there was many, many sacrifices that she made to bring me up in a time that was a very difficult time to raise kids, for sure. So I'm very blessed man, because I discovered real estate and because I had such a wonderful mom. And I had challenges too, because of not having a father, not having any money. So that was a lesson as well. Now, to get to trusts, I wanted to say that you need a plan to get what you want. And the question is, do you have a proven money-making business model, a business model that can change your life? Now, this is what I teach, that there's three major elements to a solid real estate investing business: buying, and that means buying right and buying cheap, right? Buying at the right prices. And certainly in today's market, we can talk about that, and I can give you some insights into where we find deals that other people don't find, and we're able to find some amazing deals right now to this day. Now, the next one is holding while selling and selling while holding. So it's something very powerful that I also teach, that you can have amazing cash flow, and that's residual income, and something that a lot of real estate investors don't know, and particularly landlords don't know, is that we've identified 25 different profit centers that are over and above what a typical landlord makes. So a typical landlord makes the difference between the mortgage and what they rent the property for. Now imagine that we start there and we've got 25 more profit centers over and above that. So this is a very powerful business model to help people to learn what to do and how to do it to create an amazing residual income business. And the third part of my successful real estate business is protecting all that you create. And not only protecting, but using the power and the benefits of trusts. And I'm talking about trusts, land trusts, and personal property trusts in particular, that can give you some benefits that other trusts do not give. Now, there it is. There's the correct uh, uh, message that I wanted to give you there. And that is that we are giving away 2 tickets to the upcoming Millionaire Jumpstart. And that is August 27, 28, 29 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Great time to be in Pittsburgh. And the only cost is a $99 reservation fee. And that's going to cover your materials and your seat fee as well. So back to the house, I was able to buy that with no bank financing. In other words, there was a bank loan in place. I simply took over that loan, took over the payments on that loan. That's exactly what I want you to do, and know that it's a powerful way to build your business. Is that a yeah, baby? All right, so that's the next piece of this puzzle.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah,
That's
baby.
what I'm talking about. All right. Now, question number 2, do you have a proven money protection model? So tonight, I'm not talking about the buying or the holding and selling part of the business. I'm talking about the protecting part of the business. So this money protection model, this asset protection model, is going to be very interesting to you because you're going to hear things that you've never heard before about trust. So be sure and pay attention as we go through this process. Now, this is the Monopoly game. And of course, that's what I learned real estate from, because a lot of my friends, we would play Monopoly and I would always say, let's play Monopoly. And they said, yeah, but you always win. And I said, I know, let's play Monopoly. And one of the lessons that I learned on Monopoly is that all players begin at go. And we all started at the same place. And to get off a go, what do you got to do? You got to roll the dice and take a chance. But that's what a lot of people are in fear of, is ending up taking a chance and losing everything, turning up the wrong chance card. And that chance card can be, let's see, did I push the wrong button? There we go. Lose everything. And that's frankly the reason that people get paralyzed in this business. You get paralyzed because of the fact that you could lose everything. You make a wrong move, you buy the wrong house in the wrong neighborhood, you do the wrong fix-ups, whatever might happen, all of a sudden you get stuck with a deal that you can't sell and you lose money on. So what I want to share with you is that we do things from an entirely different perspective so that we do not put ourselves in a position to lose everything. So our powerful asset protection plan, and to me, it's the most successful thing. And I'm so pleased that Congress changed the law on NE and Q loans, because it forced me to learn about the most powerful entity on the planet that almost no one knows about. Only the elites in this country, only the top level money knows about trust. And believe me, do they use them? They pass it, their assets from generation to generation, tax deferred, my friends. Amazing, amazing benefits that you can get from trusts. So this one, we're going to focus on something called probate, that an LLC, a corporation, a limited partnership, and keeping assets in your own name will not avoid probate. The only thing that will avoid the cost, the expense, the delay, and the frustration of probate is trusts. So when you transfer your asset, transfer what you own to trust, and I'm talking about your bank account, I'm talking about the house you live in, your rental properties, your vehicles. When you transfer those to trusts, guess what happens? You avoid probate. that means that you've already named inside the trust who gets it. So there's no need for courts and attorneys and delays and expenses because of this powerful thing I'm teaching you tonight called trusts. Now, the next part, and I call this the 4 P's of success, is privacy. Privacy. Your name does not have to be on public record. And in fact, in the United States of America, it's the worst thing you could have. And the reason is it's so inexpensive for someone to sue you. It is just dramatically cheap to go after somebody in this country. And that's what some people do. Some people pray using the system that we have, whatever you want to call it, they prey on that. Well, with trusts, you can have your assets in its own name without your name being there. And that's a powerful thing. All right. And the third thing is protection, asset protection, meaning that your assets are not out there in the open for others to attack. If others wanted to attack you, wanted to take what you've got, guess what? You will be in a position to not have anything in name. And that will definitely provide you some asset protection. How many of you believe that provides asset protection, right? When your assets are not findable by other people. Now, when you look at it, there's a fourth one. Thank you for the hand raises, by the way. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. And thank you, all of you who are displaying today. That's wonderful as well. All right. So, and then the fourth P is profits. Why? I just went over that with you. Imagine that you could buy real estate, taking over existing financing on the property without going to banks and without qualifying for loans. That's exactly what I'm teaching you about here because of the magic of these particular kind of trusts that I'm teaching you about, and they're called land trusts. Now, land trusts are different kinds of trusts than other types of trusts. So I want you to be aware that when you hear the term trust, well, there's about 30 different kinds of trusts out there. So a trust is not the same thing as another thing called a trust. So we have to delve into what kind of trust it is and what does it do. Well, what is a trust? First of all, it is a contract. It is a contract between the trustee and the beneficiary. So that contract and the arrangements in that contract can be kept private, including whom the beneficiary are, who the successor beneficiaries are as well inside that trust. Very powerful things. So this particular thing, this particular thing that I'm sharing with you right now, this is called a land trust. Now, as we talk about these land trusts, one thing to know about land trusts is that they are a different breed, as I was saying. And one of the things that land trusts do is convert real estate into personal property interests. Real estate into personal property. How does it do that? When you deed the property from your name into the trust name, when it's this kind of trust says that your interests as a beneficiary in this trust are personal property and not as an owner of real estate. So now you've got the benefits of separating yourself from a high liability thing like real estate. We all know that somebody can slip, somebody can fall, somebody can sue, somebody can work on your house and sue you. There's just so many liabilities that come with owning property. Now, you might say, well, but Lou, I have insurance on that. Well, good luck with that program. I will tell you, sometimes it's a challenge collecting on insurance. And so far better if we're not filing claims in the first place. And far better is we don't get sued in the first place. Now that's the key. We don't get sued in the first place. Why don't we get sued? Because when somebody looks us up on public record, they don't find anything in our name. You see, that to me, in the United States of America, that is the keys to the kingdom. don't have your name on public record as owning what? Anything. Now, the plan for you to have what you want is cash now, cash flow, and cash forever. Cash now, cash flow, and cash forever. So how does that work? Well, we generate for you in your business, in your real estate business. And you can see right here, I'm a certified affordable housing provider. Now, what does that mean? That means that we help people to end up with home ownership regardless of credit or financial background. So that is a powerful business model to attract folks in your local community that have less than perfect credit. And as real estate agents, you know that you run across these folks all the time that want you to sell them a home, but you can't sell them a home because they can't qualify at the traditional bank, but maybe they can qualify at the bank of you. And that's what I teach folks to do, is to build a business around this brand, around this model. And so we have people all across America in all 50 states actually doing exactly this. And so as a result of becoming investors, not just agents, but investors as well, they've been able to serve their community and serve all the other real estate agents leftovers. So all the people that can't qualify for homes, and how about the ones that don't list or won't list and have title problems and other things? We buy their houses as well. So there's some really powerful ways that you can take all the leftovers in the real estate world and be able to now monetize those in a very powerful way that produces income for the next 40 years. And I'll teach you about that. But it's a powerful business model. It's what we do in our business. Absolutely. We have hundreds of doors, and we have folks all across America that do as well. So what they're doing is creating a cash flow machine. And one of the things that I'm teaching them is, hey, we got to protect all that we create as well. And that's where we're talking about tonight on trusts. So where's the money and how do we protect ourselves? Well, first we have to look at the street smart way of doing business. Now, this is our company. We've been in business since 1992, helping real estate agents, investors all over the country to be able, and in fact, all over the world. We have licensees of our system in 16 foreign countries, as well as all 50 states in the United States as well. Now, what happens is that people follow us, they build businesses, and they continue to build those businesses. We support them in building that business as well. So ask yourself, can this happen to me? Could I be forced to throw away millions? And we take a look at many of the headlines that are out there now. And certainly you've probably seen some of these headlines where there's just all kinds of injured diver gets $2 million. Car crash victim settles for $1.1 million. A jury gives worker $50 million. And we start looking deeper, and $4 million liability, largest award in county history. Berrien jury awards $3.1 million in crash suit. $2 million paint job. Imagine that was on one of your buildings. You probably remember this one. Local woman wins $2.9 million over burning hot coffee, right? The coffee was hot, excuse me. The coffee was hot. She sued and won a lawsuit. The McDonald's lawsuit, you might remember that one. 4.3 million in damages given to criminals. So these kind of things happen in the United States of America. So we have to be smarter than that. We have to design our business in such a way that we do not put ourselves in a position to have it taken from us. What if we don't have it in the first place? It can't be taken from us. However, we do receive the avails and proceeds, the income from the property, but we don't actually own the property. And then I'll teach you about that. All right, so it's not all we have to worry about either. Some people try to profit by using our flawed legal system. And if you've been around for a while, I think you would agree that the system is not what we thought it was when we were young. And so as you get into the system and you start to discover what the system really is and how the system really works, you find that it's flawed. Like this lady Ms. McComb, one thing to say about Ms. McComb is she sues people. Now, this is a Wall Street Journal article, and it goes on to say that over the years, Ms. McComb, a one-time actress with a law degree. Now, is that a dangerous combination? A one-time actress with a law degree has filed nearly 50 lawsuits against her neighbors, tenants, department stores, and others for all manner of injury. So if you can just imagine, she's out to get you. She's one of the people that are out to get you. I don't know if you've heard about these people that slam on the brakes and then you run into them and all of a sudden they're suing you. Well, this is an exact example of that. She's been involved in 9 automobile accidents. She's been involved in 3 slip and fall incidents at 1 San Francisco department store. She sued her neighbor over the sound of a bouncing basketball. So this kind of nonsense is out there. And the smartest thing to do, honestly, is to not own anything in your own name. That's the one way that you can keep yourself back from being able to A, get sued in the first place. But if you do get sued, B, then what happens is it's very difficult for them to collect when you don't own anything in your name. So as we're talking tonight, just be thinking about yourself, be thinking about how you put yourself into that world. So you think it can't happen to you. A lot of people do nothing, and you'll join the business owners that were forced to throw away millions. So the lose everything card is the thing that we're going to overcome by not being in a position to lose anything at all. Kill the fear, and the steps to take are to move your assets out of your name into trust name. And guess what? You can do this yourself. You can absolutely create the documentation. Well, in fact, you don't have to create the documentation. The documentation is already created. Imagine that we already have all of this on disk. Now imagine that all of this exists in a system. Now this is the trust system. And imagine that we've got all the documents lined up so that the first document you come to is the first one you use, the second one you come to is the second one you use, and so on, all the way through, so that you're able to actually not only create one trust, but actually to create a trust for each and every asset that you have. Now imagine if you have 10 rental properties, well, how about 10 different trusts? So we separate the assets from one another, and the liability that each asset has will not contaminate the rest of the assets. How many of you love this plan, right? You're not going to put everything else at risk. And that's the plan, y'all. Don't allow yourself to be in a position to be sued and then put everything that you've accumulated at risk. And thank you for your responses on that. So what happens is that not only do you create one trust, you create a trust for each one of your assets. Think about your vehicles, the highest liability thing that you own. Boom, we can have each vehicle in its own trust. We can have your bank account in its own trust. And I'm going to show you a diagram shortly that's going to give you the information on that. All right, so the Street Smart solution, Street Smart is the name of our company, and that is one word to describe your success in business, and that is survival. If you can just survive, if you can just survive this game long enough, you will succeed and you will exceed. You will do not only well for yourself, you'll do well for your family, and you'll do well for generations to come. And this is exactly what I teach, and I'm proud to say that we've got licensees all across America that are doing exactly this. And they've built some amazing multi-million-dollar businesses doing what I teach. So, oh, groovy baby, learn the magic of trusts. Once you learn the magic of trusts, once you learn what trusts do, once you learn how they operate, you're going to be amazed that you didn't know this before. You're going to be amazed that other people didn't talk about it. You've gone to other seminars, you've gone to things that attorneys have taught, and they didn't teach you about what I'm teaching you tonight. So stay tuned. you're going to be hearing some things that you've just never heard before that trust can do. Now, I love good old Albert Einstein because he says intellectuals solve problems and geniuses prevent them. So imagine yourself as a genius preventing a problem before it occurs. And that's through this process exactly what we do. So, number one, now you're going to be taking a lot of notes, and I definitely want you to. And then I want you not only to take these notes, but to review these notes as well, because these are going to be some powerful lessons that you're getting right here. Now, what I've identified is there's about 30 different benefits of trusts that you cannot get from any other entity. Not a corporation, not an LLC, not a limited partnership. You can only get these benefits from these things called trusts. So, privacy of ownership. Now, just imagine that one, that nobody knows what you own. Now, the next one is transactional privacy. Now, let me go back for just a second. I think I wanted to make another point about privacy of ownership. Using the land trust, which remember I was making that distinction earlier that we're talking about a unique and special kind of trust. So using the land trust, you can create each trust with a different name. So think about it this way. What if you had a trust called the Sister Mary Frances Trust? The Sister Mary Frances Trust. Now, imagine that nobody wants to sue the nuns, right? Nobody wants to sue the nuns. So imagine that your assets are actually in a trust by that name. Now, imagine that there's another trust called the Native American Youth Trust, right? Well, nobody wants to mess with the Indians. And think about this. How about the Children with Special Needs Trust, right? Well, what if you got children, right? Don't they all have special needs? So just imagine that any kind of names that you can come up with can be names for your land trusts or your personal property trust, which I will get into shortly. How many of you are learning anything tonight? Is this good stuff? Is this powerful stuff? All right, awesome.
Yeah, baby.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate that. All right, that's what I'm here to do, is give you some valuable information, takeaways like you've never had before, so we can really play a much bigger game than you've been playing at this point. All right, so privacy of ownership, because you can name the trust anything you choose. Your name is not in there on public record. So now we've created that privacy of our assets. Now we're on to transactional privacy. Now that means that you could buy 100 properties in the next year and no one would know that you bought 100 properties in the last year. So you've got that transactional safety, privacy, and asset protection simply by others not knowing what you've purchased. So where can I get that? Well, little known yet wildly powerful things called land trusts and personal property trusts. Now, what is a personal property trust? Well, I'm about to show you, because there's two different kinds of trusts that I'm teaching you about tonight. Land trusts are for real estate, meaning if it has a legal description and it is real estate, that's going to go into a land trust. If it does not have a legal description, it's going to go into a personal property trust. So I'm going to break that down for you so you can see all the different distinctions between the land trust and the personal property trust. So the land trust holds title, it gives privacy, protection, probate avoidance, and profits, something that you can't get from other entities. No other entity is going to give you that one. For example, the probate avoidance, right? Probate avoidance is a big thing. If there was no other reason to do trusts than that one thing, that would be well worth the effort to do. But it's going to give you much more than just probate avoidance. All right, so what can go into trusts? Well, the answer is houses, apartments, condos, hotels, land, lots, You see, these are trusts. These are all trusts that we've participated in. And so how many of you love trust so far? Does this make sense to you? All
Yeah,
right.
baby.
Yeah, baby. So
Yeah.
now you kind of go, okay, now this is starting to make sense. There's a lot of things and benefits that I can get from these trusts that I can't get from any other entity. And that's what I love about these amazing things called trusts that I was forced to learn because the government passed a law. Now you learn the magic of personal property trusts. So we talked about real estate and going into a land trust, but personal property trust, that's something different. It's everything else in your life. And so we're going to talk about that. How about you get an estate planning tool, and I call it estate planning as you go. So as you are acquiring assets, boom, they're immediately going into trust. And remember, each one is going to a separate trust, separated from the others to give you that privacy, not putting all your eggs in one basket. So protect your bank accounts, your vehicles, your stocks, and so much more. So what goes into a personal property trust? Stocks, stock certificates, whether it's a stock account, a brokerage account, or a certificate. How about bank accounts, your CDs, your CDs, your mobile homes, your motor homes, your gun collections, your mobile home. You think about anything else in your life, right? Any one of these things, airplanes can go into trust. Gun collections can go into trust. Coin collections can go into trust. So anything in your life can go into trust. And it's a very powerful thing to know that imagine that you have assets, imagine that they are separated from one another. And by the way, if you're just getting started, this is a perfect thing to get started with. And I'm very fortunate that I learned about trust early in my career before I had a lot of assets, because this is exactly what helped me to be able to navigate being in this business for over 40 years and surviving all the things that have happened over those years. It was these magical things called trusts. So as we get deeper into it, you're going to learn more about why this is powerful. So let's say that you have a single family house or a duplex, and you're going to put that into the Elm Street Trust with JD Goodguy as trustee. Well, imagine that beneficial interest of the land trust, because I told you something powerful, more powerful earlier, and that was the fact that when you put the property into trust, that converts real estate into personal property interests, converts real estate into personal property interests, meaning you have an interest in the avails and proceeds which may flow from the trust. So as a result of that, converting the real estate into personal property interests, now comes our friend, the personal property trust. So the personal property trust comes into play not only for stocks, bonds, mutual funds, bank accounts, CDs, CDs, mobile homes, motorhomes, gun collections, coin collections, but what about the trust actually becoming the beneficiary of the land trust? So now we've got a layered protection. So this is you, by the way, if there's ever a lawsuit, this is you hanging out behind the trust to figure out who the beneficiary of this trust is. So now you're thinking to yourself, well, wait a minute. So I can have my real estate in a land trust, but I don't own the real estate. The beneficial interest goes to a personal property trust. So if anybody ever sues the real estate land trust and they get the ability to find out who the beneficiary of the land trust is, guess what they find? They find another trust with a different trustee. So imagine the power that you have in being able to protect your assets. Now, I always take pause to tell people that I do not teach this to help people get away with taking advantage of people. or hurting people. We only teach this to protect you from people like Ms. McComb that will come along and sue you. It's nothing personal. That's what she does. She sues people. So we want to protect ourselves from people like that. So it's not to set you up now go out and take advantage of people. It's to set you up to protect yourself from people that want to take advantage of you. How many of you like that plan? Right? We do good business. We do great business, in fact. And as a result, our business is truly blessed. We have so many folks that have helped people, and we've been able to solve many, many problems for people, both sellers and buyers. I love this business. I think this is the best business on the planet. I haven't found anything that comes close to it. And so as a result of really paying attention to what you can do with this business, man, you got the keys to the kingdom. But unfortunately, we do have to protect ourselves in this game called trusts, using this game called trust, because of the fact that it is so easy to sue in the country and so easy for people to take your stuff. But don't forget, there's another powerful reason, and that is to avoid probate. And you think about your customers too. Many of your customers need to know this information as well. So now, as we're going through this process, now you're thinking about your whole world. You're thinking about the real estate that you've got. You're thinking about your personal property, your vehicles, your bank account, and all this stuff. Is it a powerful thing to take those things out of your name? I'm going to say it's the most powerful thing you could ever do if you have assets. So once you realize that all of these things are now held by a third party trust, and in fact, by third parties, such as the person who is your trustee, and protecting yourself from your trustee is also something that I teach. All right. So let me put this here so I don't knock everything over. By the way, I do have CDs or downloads to give you the information so that you've got in your rolling university, as you go from house to house and showing to showing, that you've got the opportunity to learn this powerful knowledge for yourself and your family as well. So think about your parents, your grandparents, who absolutely positively should have their stuff in trust. And as a result of your actions, as a result of you bringing this to the table, now you've got the benefit of not having to go through probate yourself. So I'm teaching this to you so you don't have to go through the pain and suffering in someone else's estate. I found out something interesting about probate. It's not a problem for dead people. Dead people just don't have a problem with probate. It's the living that have a problem with probate. So what we got to do is set ourselves up for success in this world. So learn the magic of personal property trusts as well. All right. Am I going backwards? I don't think so. All right. So next, there we go. All right. Do you love trusts, baby? All right. Now, I've gone through that, but somehow I went backwards. All right. And we talked about that slide. All right. So what are the other benefits of trust? Well, we talked about privacy of ownership. We talked about transactional privacy. Government has limited control. So if you think about housing code, one of the things they like to do is if they find one of your properties, they want to find all of your properties and harass you and get fines and fees on all of them. Well, imagine that they can't go down that trail and find everything that you own. How about this one? No relationship with state government. Now, what does that mean? Well, trusts got here before the states got here. Trusts came over on the Mayflower. Trusts have been around for centuries. Trusts have been around for thousands of years, in fact. So the concept of trusts is not a new one. What's new is LLCs, corporations, and limited partnership. That's new stuff. And those are birthed by the state or by the respective state that it resides in. Imagine that a trust has dominion over that. Imagine that trust got here before even the charters of the states got here. So the concept of trusts is a very powerful one because the foundation of trusts is contract. Contract is the very foundation of our country, the very foundation of our laws in our country. So trust is something that's not going to go out of business. Trust is not something that they're going to take away from us, because it's the foundation, the very foundation of our country, and in fact of many parts of the world in their legal structures. So when we know this, we also know that the only thing that states can do is pass laws of administration in trusts, but they cannot stop you from using them. They cannot take them away from us. How many of you believe what I've shared so far provides asset protection? That you believe that this is absolutely asset protection for you and your family and your grandparents and your great grandparents and your children, you know, because of the fact that you are separated from those assets. Now, that's the power of what I'm sharing with you right now. Now, another one you're going to love, and just think about all of these as we're going through this, how this affects you, because this is not about me, this is about you. I want you to have the benefits of these trusts and how they work. I want to pass this along, pay this forward, and gift this to all of you to know something that has been one of the greatest lessons of my life. So how about this one? Difficult to collect judgments and liens. Difficult to collect judgments and liens. Now imagine this, that if someone gets a judgment against you personally and you don't own anything, then they can't collect on those judgments and liens. And I love teaching real estate agents because you guys absolutely understand what that means. You're getting ready for a closing. All of a sudden they do a title search and up pops these liens and these other judgments and things that you didn't know anything about, and it screws up your deal altogether. Well, think about that in the context of, imagine that the trust can sell the property even if there's a big fat judgment against you personally as a beneficiary. Why? Because the beneficiary's name does not show up on public record. The only thing that shows up on public record is the name of the trust. So when the trustee goes to sell that property, that passes to the new buyer without any judgments or liens attached to it. So that's a powerful lesson to learn there. Now imagine that there's over 30 different benefits that I've identified of trusts that you cannot get from any other entity. So as we look at your growing estate, as we look at not only doing one house, your personal residence, yes, I'm talking about your personal residence as well. We also talk about your rental properties and your investment properties. Yes, this works on commercial properties as well as single family houses, as well as duplex, any kind of real estate, lots, land, everything. This is one that we did. This is in trust. So imagine that you got a whole bunch of lots that can work. Now, here's another one that we did. And this is another one that was divided into lots, and it was done by a trust. So now imagine that we go to your tenants and we say to your tenants, I no longer own the house, because I know probably what has happened is those of you who own real estate, by the way, how many of you own some rental property, own some residential or commercial rental property, right? So lots of hands going up. Yeah, baby. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. So you own assets, and that's an important thing. And imagine this, those tenants know that you're the owner. Now, let's step back from that and say, what if there was a way to reset our relationship with the tenant that already owns the property? What would that be? That would be transferring your assets into trusts and sending them a letter that I have in here. Now, this letter says, I no longer own the property because of people like you. No, it doesn't say that. It says, I no longer own the property. However, I'm going to remain on as the manager for an indefinite period of time. The new owners have some new paperwork that they want me to go over with you. Now, what is the new paperwork? This is your new standard rental agreement loaded with profit centers and protection. Another Lou Brown creation here. So what happens is that the trustee of the trust, is going to hire you as the manager. So you're going to continue in your duties of managing that property, but you're going to take off the owner hat and you're going to put on the manager's hat. And now you're going to come in because you have a higher authority. You have a board of directors, a board of trustees that you have to answer to, and you have to do what the board of trustees says. And what do they say? They say you have to follow the paperwork, whatever the paperwork says. So now you've got a way to kind of protect yourself from the decision-making process. If they say they want new carpet and you don't want to lose a tenant, well, it doesn't work that way anymore. You're going to actually have a tenant that tenant is going to be, the person that you're going to have to deal with as a manager now, not as an owner. So now you take the money, the tenant now is going to be paying you, as agent. Now you as agent is going to deposit that money. You are going to deposit that money into you as trustees bank account. So now you're going to get that asset out of your name and you're going to put it into the trust name, and you're going to now have the ability to manage that property. You're going to have the ability to take that money and put it over into the trust management, or the Phoenix Management Trust, or whatever name you come up with as a trustee. Christina, would you do me a favor? Would you send Bruce Beasley Gary's email? He's been calling me regularly while we've been online here. If you could just send Bruce Beasley Gary's email. All right.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. So now what happens is now you've got a bank account. You're going to use the personal property trust to create a bank account at your local bank. It's not going to be a problem. When we create that bank account, that becomes where the money goes. Now, if you see something brilliant that just happened, we took the money out of the trust that owns the property and we put the money into a different trust. So if anybody got a judgment against any of those individual trusts, they would not be able to touch the money because the money is someplace else. So if you think about an imaginary line being right here, imagine that imaginary line now separates the money from the assets. Now here's what finally happens. So we've got the land trusts. The beneficiary of the land trust is the personal property trust. And now below that, you could have a living trust, or you may already have an LLC or a corporation or a limited partnership. Well, that could be a beneficiary of the personal property trust. So you don't have to get rid of entities that you already have. We can now put those, let's say, under the water line. Now, let's say that this is the water line here, that there was an actual line here separating what people see on the public record. And so just imagine that all these black houses here, this is what the public sees, right? The name, the ownership, but they don't see who the beneficiaries are, and they certainly don't see who's getting the money, and they don't see who the final beneficiary is, and that beneficiary could even be an LLC or a corporation or a limited partnership. So if you have those things and you want to keep those things, you can keep those things. But what we're going to do is take them below the water line. So while it is a public entity on state records, nobody sees it doing any business. It becomes a beneficiary of the trust. So Lots of interesting stuff here. How many of you are getting benefit from being here tonight? How many of you are glad that you that you joined and made that carved out today as a like aha moment for you?
Yeah,
Hopefully.
baby.
Yeah, baby. Good stuff. Good stuff. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that vote of confidence. That gives me some energy for sure. So as we go deeper into this, imagine that there's more to the story, because as we look at whether it's a flipper property, whether it's a keeper property, yes, indeed, 100% of everything you do goes into those trusts. The money from flipper properties goes into that bank account. The money from the keeper properties goes into that bank account, and you are the trustee of the bank account. If you notice, you're not the trustee of the real estate, but you are the trustee of the bank account. So you will have control over the money. You will be able to write checks from that account. And that means the mortgage payment, the taxes, the insurance, the repairs, anything related to that property, you're going to be writing the checks on that. All right. So the next piece of that is an LLC or corporation, and you simply have that as the beneficiary of the personal property trust if you have one of those. But as you can see here, I say that that's an optional entity. You do not have to have that entity unless you want to have that entity. And then finally, there is the final trust that might be a living trust, that might be what we call the elite trust. And that's a deeper conversation we're not going to have today. All right. So then when the bank account pays the bills, the leftover money, whatever the leftover money is, that's profit. That profit now gets paid out to the LLC or the corporation. Or if you don't have that entity, then it's yours. And you actually can leave it in that bank account. And now you can pay all your bills as well because it's your money. So you have the power, dominion, and control over that bank account. You can write those bills to anybody you want to. And the beneficiary of the bank account trust is your final trust, whether that's a living trust or an elite trust. So now you get the big picture. And yes, this chart is in the trust system, so you can refer back to this and definitely follow along on what we do and how we do it. And yes, I do cover this on the CDs or the downloads, whatever you choose to do with following along with this step by step by step, so that you fill in the documents correctly, you open the bank account correctly, all the different steps that are necessary to get you that privacy protection, probate avoidance, and profits, right? All right. So imagine that the money is here, and imagine that there's even more benefits of trust. So now we get into probate avoidance, right? Probate avoidance. This is what I was talking about earlier, how to get your assets protected and not have to go through the pain, suffering, delay, expense, and confusion of probate. That all can be eliminated, because here's how it works. Once you have identified in your trust who gets what they're supposed to get, it's already identified in the trust. We don't need no judges, no lawyers, no courthouses, no expense. We don't need any of that. Why? Because in the trust, you've already said who gets it. And imagine that you've got each asset in a separate trust. You can even have different people who get those various things. So probate is an amazing thing that can be avoided only by the use of trusts. Now, this is a great story. We purchased your whole enchilada at the LeGrand Boot Camp in Las Vegas, started using it a couple of weeks later. It's been great. I discussed estate planning with my parents, and they told me they had a living trust. So we decided to create land trusts for these properties. Long and short of it, I asked to see their deeds and living trust. I'm the only heir, and they had a living will only. I spent that night creating the documents, living trust, etc., and they signed the documents the next day. And I walked them to the recorder's office. I didn't sleep well that night knowing the situation. They are 78 and 80 years of age, and things happen. She was afraid they were going to croak over that night before she got the assets transferred. Now, I love Judy's attitude because Judy said, wait a minute, there's a risk here. I could lose everything. I could have to go through the pain and suffering and delay and expense of probate, but I could avoid it simply by creating these trusts. So sure enough, she did exactly that. She says, the whole enchilada has saved us many hours of grief. Losing a parent will be difficult, but probate will only add to the problem. It was wonderful having the CD to quickly prepare the documents. So as you see, it's easy to have the ability to go ahead and create those trusts yourself. So this works for old money and this works for new money as well. So whatever kind of money you and your family have, absolutely using trusts can work terrifically. All right, so will this work here? Well, I got this message from a gentleman in Pennsylvania, in fact. And he says, I bought the whole enchilada from one of your seminars several months ago when you were in the Philadelphia area. I have read your course from cover to cover, and I'm sorry to report, I love the whole enchilada. He was being sarcastic there. He says, you ask your students to keep in touch. And I just wanted to say, I'm so glad my friend told me to get your course. I was afraid to spend that much money, but as they say, just one deal can pay for good course material. One of the things you said is sometimes you have to be a pioneer to bring in concepts that work elsewhere, but not in your area as yet. I did, and now everyone wants to know how I did it. Now, let me see if I can move this thing out of the way. To give you the details, I took a house in trust and I took a house subject to, meaning what I was teaching you earlier. He took the house by taking over the existing financing on the property, and he put it in trust as you taught me in your course. Everyone here in Pennsylvania told me I couldn't do what I did, and land trusts don't work in Pennsylvania. Well, I guess they were right. Of course, he's being sarcastic again, and he says, I took the house and subject to and put it in trust, and my costs were $30 and $60 to record. After the rehab, I left the settlement table with over $49,000 in my pocket. This has allowed me to buy 3 houses that I am keeping for rentals, or should I say lease options, rent to own. Another great concept that I learned from your course. My new buyers just love the houses and the concept of home ownership through lease options and contract for deed. Lou, thanks for a great seminar, great set of course materials. I will always be a fan and grateful. Now that's Phil Honer. He not only studied under me, he went on to become the president of the Philadelphia DIG, 1,200 members, the Diversified Investor Group that's called. And he went on to build an amazing portfolio of properties. So just know that when he got that first information from me that it was possible to buy a property subject to the existing loan, and you could sell that property on a rent to own, you could sell it on owner financing, and you could sell it for cash. And sure enough, in that particular case, he did, and he left the table at 49 grand. So as you're thinking this through, just know that there's some unique things that don't match at all what you've been doing or what you heard are the way to do things. And this is a new day, a new way for you to look at it. Here's another one. Great course materials helped me in so many ways. I don't know where to begin thanking you. I feel the most important thing you taught me is how to put my properties in trust and start some basic asset protection. It was very rewarding learning how to do trusts in Pennsylvania because countless professionals, including lawyers and experienced real estate investors, told me it was impossible, illegal, or immoral to put a property into trust. I proved them all wrong with your course. It was as easy as eating pie. Before taking your course, I was renting out my property, getting first and last month's rent and a security deposit, which many times the courts would make me return, even though there was damage done to the property. After taking your course, I lease optioned the property, got $5,000 non-refundable lease option consideration, $200 per month above highest rents in town, total of $7,400 for the first house in the first year. People told me I was crazy for spending so much money on a real estate course. Yeah, crazy like a fox. So that happened to Stephen, and he's another one from the great state of Pennsylvania. So just know that it definitely can work in Pennsylvania. I've got people all over Pennsylvania absolutely eat this up, love this. I've got people all over the country using it as well. Yeah, but will this work for me? So there's another thing that I do for you. Imagine that you've learned a piece of the puzzle tonight. Imagine that there's a bigger puzzle and it takes 3 days for me to teach you that. And that's the Millionaire Jumpstart. Now that's a 3-day training that I do. The next one coming up in August in Pittsburgh. And what we're doing is literally breaking this business down, breaking the entire business model down so that you are given the opportunity to see things from a different point of view. And you're actually going to be supported in learning how we buy without going to banks, without qualifying for loans, how we find deals that are not on the MLS that other people don't know about. We call them no competition deals, how we hold those properties long-term, how we earn those 25 different profit centers over and above the cash market, and protecting all that you create, where we actually do some paperwork right there in the class. So imagine that you've got 3 days with good old Lou. I'm going to be the one to share with you what to do and how to do it in our amazing business model that we've put together over the years. So the bonus that I'm going to give you guys tonight, those of you who are joining me, is the exclusive Millionaire Jumpstart training, 3 days with Lou. Now, this is what Antoine said. He says, hey, Lou, just wanted to let you know how great your trust system is. Because your system, I was able to purchase 4 properties in a land trust, have step-by-step directions from your system on how to get an EIN number and open up a trust bank account too. This is the best system by far, giving steps along the way. I also used your buying, selling, and holding course to get owner financing from the seller. And now I have 4 properties bringing in $1,900 a month in income. Thanks, Lou. Antoine Stanley in Fayetteville, North Carolina. So know that there's house number 1 that he got that day, house number 2, house number 3, and house number 4. So he got 4 properties from a seller. The seller carried back financing. Remember, Lou's the one that teaches you, you don't have to go to banks and you don't have to qualify for loans. So sure enough, I've taught many, many people that over decades. And it's just very exciting when people learn that it's possible to have a great business and not go to the banks too. How many of you like not going to banks and not qualifying for loans and not having all the expense of qualifying for loans and not having to give up your credit report and having privacy, that the bank doesn't know all the stuff that you own, that they can come after, and wrapping everything that you own with a wrap mortgage? You see, we don't do any of that. And that's the opportunity for you to truly expand your business in a powerful way because of the fact that you don't have to go to banks and you don't have to qualify for loans. And I think that's a very safe place to be when you can stay out of banks. Now, of course, at Millionaire Jumpstart, you're going to learn that trusts not only protect assets and plan your estate, they can make money too. You're going to learn how to assign a non-assignable contract. You're going to learn how to never go to banks again, using my little known techniques that using properties with existing financing, borrowing money using trusts. Yes, you can. You're going to learn if you have an existing trust, there could be huge holes in it. There's about a dozen things that are often not in other people's paperwork. I want you to be aware of. There definitely are some cautions in the paperwork. I want you to know that It's important that you're learning from somebody who's been there and done that and got decades of experience. How to set up a trust bank account, or a bank account in trust for privacy and asset protection. Asset protections, even your attorney doesn't know. Protecting your IRA, 401k, using trusts, how to double credit partner value, how to partner without partnering, so many other good things. Bulletproof creditor protection as well. So this is how we do what we do. And I just wanted you to be aware tonight, that, hey, you're going to get paperwork training at Millionaire Jumpstart as well at this 3-day training. And not only that, you'll get asset protection. This is 100% guarantee. If you don't think that this is the best investment you ever made, look, we want to give you your money back. We're only interested in raving fans. We've got folks from all over the country that are raving fans of our system, and that's all we're interested in. So just know that when you get the system, it is step by step. It has everything you need right there. You do not have to come to the training. The training is like a bonus. It's icing on the cake. It is not required for you to be able to implement the trust. So literally, when we ship it to you tomorrow, you're going to have it this week. You're going to be able to start implementation right away. So, by the way, we've got licensees, as I said, all across America that have joined us. They've become certified affordable housing providers. They absolutely use our trust system and all across the country as well. So we encourage you to learn more about who we are and what we do. We've built some amazing businesses out there in the world, multi-million-dollar businesses for sure. All right, so intellectuals solve problems and geniuses prevent them. Good old Albert Einstein, I'll remind you about that one, that the safe thing to do, the street smart way, is to focus on those land trusts and know that we're going to be teaching you more. Now, by the way, there's no separate tax returns. So you think about LLCs, corporations, limited partnerships, no separate tax returns. How many of you love that plan, right? So imagine an LLC, a corporation, you got annual dues, annual fees, annual tax returns, not the trust. So it makes it so much easier for you to be able to use this beneficial trust in a very unique way. All right, now the next one is ability to take title, what? Subject to existing loans safely. And I'm going to get to that, and then I'll close that out with that concept. All right, so we're going to ease of transfer. Very easy to transfer assets that are in trust, because you could even just sell the beneficial interest of the trust and not even have to change the deed on the property. It's an easy entity to start. It's an easy entity to operate. You're never going to be in the chain of title on the property. If you are on the chain of title, not an issue. As soon as you deed out of the property, you're no longer liable for anything because you don't own the property anymore. Now, the next thing is control without ownership. So you control the asset as a beneficiary. You control the trustee. The trustee does not control you. You control the trustee. You tell the trustee what to do. You tell the trustee when to sell the property. You control everything until your death. And then it immediately goes to your successor beneficiaries or beneficiaries, and then they control the trustee and tell the trustee what to do. So it's a very powerful way to keep yourself private, keep your name off public record, yet have complete control over the asset. How many of you love that plan, right? All right, now here's the bonus, and then we'll close. So bonus, what if you could make money with trusts as well? So I've been giving you the 4 P's, right? I gave you the privacy. I gave you the asset protection. I gave you the probate avoidance. But now think about this: profits using trusts. So yes, you can take over payments. You can take over loans, existing mortgages. Here's the law that went into effect in 1982 that caused me to have to learn about trust. And when I read that law, what did I find? Section 1701 J3A1D8, buried way down deep in the law, was an exception for specified transfers or dispositions. A lender may not exercise its option pursuant to a due on sale clause upon a transfer into an inter vivos trust. And imagine what a land trust is. It is an inter vivos or living type trust. So know that we've got a way now that we can help a seller plan their estate by placing their property into trust and you purchasing that beneficial interest in the trust. All right. Yeah, but really, will this work for me? So the final one I want to share with you is Stefan. He says, "Hi, Lou. Today was a big day." Now, this is Stefan out in Phoenix, Arizona, Scottsdale, Arizona. And he says, "Today was a big day using the forms and methods you teach in your course." Let's see here. I bought 3 houses in one day. That's right, not one, not two, but 3. And better yet, in each case, the seller sold me the property subject to the existing mortgage balances. Forms from Street Smart Buying, Selling, and Holding did all the negotiating for me. It was as easy as filling in the blanks. These deals mean over $80,000 in instant equity and profits, not to mention the monthly and the cash infusions, monthly positive cash flow, and the magic of speeding up how quickly these homes will be free and clear in the year ahead by prepaying principal the way you teach. Now, what Stefan did, and he sent me pictures of the 3 houses that he bought that day. Now, this is house number 1. Now, how many of you love that house, right? That's a beautiful house, isn't it? That's a beautiful house. Imagine this. Stunning new home, original owner, 1-year-old, 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, 3-car garage, 2,415 square feet. Motivated sellers overwhelmed by the payments agreed to deed the property subject to existing mortgage balance, didn't expect or want any cash. Exit strategy, exactly what I teach. Now, then there was number 2, house number 2. Motivated seller agreed to sell the property for mortgage balance. Property in area plans to be zoned historic. 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 1-car garage with a 1-bedroom, 1-bath guest house currently rented below market. Submitted by 3-year Stark Raving whole enchilada owner. So he got 2 rental properties out of that house. And then here's house number 3. Motivated seller contacted us and are adding a classified real estate section. 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths with a 1-bedroom, 1-bath in-law suite. Seller deeded the property subject to existing mortgage balance. Didn't care about credit. Didn't even care if the house went into foreclosure. So he bought 3 houses in one day, $10 each. So he spent $30 to acquire $80,000 in equity. How many of you love that plan, right? So when I'm sharing with you about taking over existing financing, you can see that it's absolutely real and a lot of people do it. Now, when we take over these loans, I want you to know we make the payments. Now, sometimes we're taking over properties where the people are behind in payments. What we do is restore those payments. Now, we might work out some kind of forbearance agreement with the bank. I will teach you about doing that. Or if we pay it up, look what it does for the seller's credit. It now restores their credit. And now every month that you make those payments on time, what does it do for that seller's credit? It helps them to get their life back on track. It helps them to get their life in order. Isn't that a wonderful thing? How many of you love that? I love helping sellers. I love solving their problems. I love helping them to have a better life than the one they've got. And so I just wanted to share with you about this amazing thing called subject to, and let the paperwork do the negotiating for you. So just ask yourself, Can it happen to me that I could be sued, that people could take my assets? Could I be forced to throw away millions like so many others have? Could I be in a position where I lose my hard-earned assets? So intellectuals solve problems, geniuses prevent them. And the final thing I have to share with you tonight is, how many of you have an office that looks like this? So yes, I broke in and took a picture, but what we know is that entrepreneurs, hardworking agents, you're out there in the field, you're causing things to happen. You don't have time for paperwork. It's just another thing you got to deal with in life. You don't like the paperwork anyway. Well, just know that I'm going to help you with that process too. So I'm going to empower you to impact your life. And success is all about having a system. Now, a system gets you more money faster and safer. According to Michael Gerber, author of The E-Myth, 1 million people go into business each year. Within 5 years, 96% are out of business. Now, imagine that they have a system and you need a system too. Question number one, why this guy? Well, there's lots of gurus all over the country that started with good old Lou Brown. So if you've heard of Stan Merrill, if you've heard of Paula Sajian, his partner, if you've heard of so many other people, Ron LeGrand, Robin Thompson, there's just so many people that started with good old Lou, getting my whole enchilada package, and including trusts, land trusts and personal property trusts. Definitely they were sitting in seats just like you. Here's one that said, bought your whole enchilada at a recent seminar, purchased my first home subject to the existing mortgage as with no money down as I was halfway through your land trust course. Had my attorney review your trust documents as you suggested. He said they were the best real estate agreements he had ever seen. He also told me it would have cost me thousands of dollars for him to produce similar documentation that wouldn't have been nearly as thorough as yours. Despite your brilliant paperwork, I must admit the first transaction did not go as smoothly as I'd expected due to my own lack of hands-on experience. Cannot thank you enough for quickly replying to my late night pleas for help via the fax machine. So just know that you are not alone. Now, here's what I do for you every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm present to answer questions. So you just simply join my call, just like Gary's doing for you tonight. You just join the call and you ask your questions. So we want to support you in being successful in this business. We want to support you in implementing your trusts, land trusts, personal property trusts. We want to answer any questions that you have. So by all means, join us every Sunday night, 9 p.m. I'm going to include that as a special bonus for joining us today. So your hidden fortune comes from my easy to implement systems and strategies that do for you what you cannot do for yourself. And this is the Street Smart system that so many people use. So I told you about the 4 P's of the trusts. Now it takes 4 T's to have a good, successful business. Now, T number 1 is tools. You need the right tools to make this work. Next is the training to use this. Third is the technology to now pull up the digital documents and fill them in. And fourth is the team, and that's the support that we give to you in the implementation. So we do not want to leave you alone. We do not want to ship you the brick in the box and say, have fun with that. We want to help you to implement this because it's such a powerful thing. So coaching and mentoring is what we can also provide to you as part of the overall strategy. Now, what is this? This is a patchwork quilt. So now as a patchwork quilt, think about how many of you have a business just like that. Is your business like a patchwork quilt where you take an idea from here and a concept from there and a form from another place and you try to cobble that together into a business? Just know that that's not our plan. Our plan is to absolutely support you in this. Have a funeral, say a prayer. If you've invested in other things that did not work, this is the last time. you are going to invest in something that absolutely works, and we've helped so many people to do it. So first, you need the tools, and that is the land trust system. As I've held up several times, the personal property trust system, the two of those together, one is for real estate, the other is for your stocks, bonds, mutual funds, bank accounts, everything else in your life. Now, how is the system done? Well, it's an interesting question because I actually created the system the way I wish I could have bought the system. And what we've got here is a way to capture everything that you need on one page, every answer that you need on one page. And you say, well, who is my trustee? Well, Lou, that's a great question. Who should I use as my trustee? Well, guess what? I've taken each question and I've annotated each question with the answer so that you absolutely have right in front of you what to do and how to do it. Now, the second thing I did was take each one of the forms and I organized the forms. So the first form you come to is the first one you use. The second one you come to is the second one you use all the way through. And here's where that came from. Years ago, I went to my wife and I said, honey, I need you to help me here. I need you to get on this boat and help me row. We were acquiring properties, things were happening. I had learned about trusts. I said, we got to get our stuff in trust. This is a great thing. And she said, well, let me tell you a little bit about myself. She says, I have ADD, I have dyslexia, and I have a learning disability in math and symbols. What do you want me to do, big boy? and I said, well, I want you to do the book work and the paperwork. And she said, well, that's great. But she says, listen, you can't tell me. You have to write it down. She says, I can help, but you can't tell me. You got to organize it so that the first form I come to is the first one I use. The second one I come to is the second one I use. She said, you got to put a cover sheet on each form. Explain who gets an original, who gets a duplicate. Does it get recorded? Where does it get recorded? Give me everything that I need in order to implement this. She said, then give it to me on disk so I can pull up the disk on a computer and I can have it in guidebook form to guide me through filling in the documents. So I'll have it on the computer and then I can just go through as you've guided me through with the documents. And I want a filled in version of every one of the forms and I want a blank version of the forms. And soon as you get that done, oh, and I want a checklist too. I want a checklist of what to do first, second, third. So as soon as you get all that done, I'll be glad to help. And I said, well, I'm going to do that. So again, I was forced, just like the government forced me to learn about trusts, I was forced by my wife to put this thing into a system. And that's exactly what I did. And we use this to this day in our business. It is the most powerful thing I've ever done. And I absolutely love being able to share it with other people. So you think about a pilot. Every time a pilot gets in a plane, they go through a checklist. Even if they just landed an hour before, they go through a checklist. So I've got all the documents, the form numbers, everything. Then I've got a scenario that runs through all the documents. I've got Mary living well and her trustee, James Good Guy. And this follows through all the filled in versions of every one of the forms, the cover sheets that explain it. Now, this is copyrighted material. So each licensee, you become a licensee of the system. We give you the documents, we give you the forms, we give you everything. What you're purchasing is a license. You're purchasing a license to use. There's no annual fees. There's no annual dues. Once you purchase the license, you own the license forever. Now, the other thing I do for you is I've expanded this license as a bonus. I've expanded this license so you can use it with your parents and even your grandparents, because I wanted to set up a way for you to not have to deal with probate, because it's only the living that deals with probate. So this now gives you a way that you can now expand it into your family and help your family as well. And you're helping all your siblings. Oh my gosh, just imagine somebody passes away, boom, it immediately passes to the heirs. Immediately passes to the heirs. There's no probate, no delay, no expense. It's the most amazing thing ever, and it's only trusts that do that. So now, as a result, what I'm doing for you next is you need the technology. So what have I done for you? I've got all the forms on Forms Disk. So you can pull this up on your computer, highlight the blank line, type it in, boom, you've got your documents. So this is going to walk you through creating a trust. And then when you create your second trust, all you got to do is a search and replace. Change the name of the trust, name of the trustee, boom, you got your second trust. You got your third trust, your fourth trust. Now you've got all your assets separated and apart from one another, so they're not going to contaminate each other either out there in the real world. Now it comes up on your desktop. You're able to simply click on that, open it up. There's your forms, buying, selling, and holding. Boom, you open that up, and as you can see, all the documents are laid out in Word format, so you can simply click on it, open it up, and you've got the document. So we've got the land trust, the personal property trust. Also, I've got 8 CDs that walk you through from start to finish so that you're able to understand what it is, how it works, how you can implement it, right down to filling out the paperwork. And what I've done is I've put tracks on each one of these CDs, then I've named the tracks. So whenever you need a piece of information, you can go right to that CD and right to that track, and boom, pull up that information. So again, I wish I could have purchased it this way and not had to go through the pain and suffering of creating it, but I'm glad that I can pass it along to you so you don't have to deal with all that pain and suffering. Now, the next thing I'm going to do for you, the land trust and the personal property trust on digital CD, as well as that's downloadable as well to all licensees. So third, you need the training, and that's where the Millionaire Jumpstart comes in. That's an exclusive bonus training that I have added to everything that you're going to be doing. So you're going to learn how to do, and you're going to have a business plan. We're going to do that right in class. Now, in addition to that, you're going to understand contracts. You're going to understand trusts, and not just any contracts, by the way. It's our design of 40 years of experience in the contract. You're going to understand trusts. You're going to understand short sales. You're going to understand what to hold and what to sell. You're going to understand how we raise money for our cash deals. 4% interest only, no payments. And I want to teach you how to raise cash for your real estate deals that you're going to be doing, because sometimes they are HUD deals, sometimes they're short sales, sometimes they're foreclosures, sometimes we do need cash. And I want to help you raise that money without going to banks and without qualifying for loans. So we do teach that at the Millionaire Jumpstart. So here's what happened to Gary. He went to the training. He says, bought your whole enchilada in Las Vegas. In 2 months, I have got the deed on 7 houses, closed them all myself with your forms. I'm keeping 2, rehabbing 1, have 4 on the block for sale. Your course is great and fills in the gaps of some other people's courses. My lawyer was impressed with your forms too, but I know you already know that. So just know that, yeah, people have been there, done that. They've used my system for years. And hey, we're coming to Pittsburgh, August 27, 28, 29. You are invited. You don't pay for that today. You will pay a reservation fee at a later date when you book your reservation with us for that live event. And I just want you to know, I am giving you the tools to be able to do that. So, by the way, we have right here, you are getting a very special entitlement scholarship grant as being part of Gary's world. We were able to work out this grant. So what that means is that normally we do charge for Millionaire Jumpstart, and you will meet people there that have paid to be there, significant dollars to attend that 3-day training. But we're including this with your license today as a bonus. You have Gary to thank for that. So fourth, you need the team, and that team is the Tele Training with Lou. It's a group Q&A. It's no longer monthly, it's now weekly, except the weeks that we have event. So here's what we're doing for you here tonight, and very special deal that I was able to put together with Gary. Number one, protecting your assets. Land trusts, you can buy land trusts separately for $9.97. You can buy personal property trusts separately for $9.97. You're going to get 8 audio CDs tracked and titled for easy implementation. You're going to get the forms disc, and includes all the documents in digital format. You're going to get the weekly group Q&A, and that's included. You're going to get the training, the Millionaire Jumpstart 3-day live event. You're going to get a second ticket for a spouse, family member, or 100% business partner. Come as well. Total $58.87. I'm going to give you some even extra bonuses on top of that. How to set up your trust bank account, how to work with your spouse without killing them. So I have helped many folks who are couples in this business and just had amazing success, multi-million-dollar businesses. I love helping that. But Janice, my wife, and I, of over 40 years now, we just had our anniversary, and we have worked out a system between the two of us, and we share that system with you that has made for a great partnership all these years since 1982. So just know that here's what we're doing for you in this deal. Now, number one, talk to Gary about some bonuses here. So number one, we're going to be giving you the 8 audio CDs as a bonus. We're going to be giving you the forms disc as a bonus. We're going to be giving you the group weekly Q&A as a bonus. We're going to be giving you the Millionaire Jumpstart as a bonus, the second ticket as a bonus, the how to set up your bank account as a bonus, and working with your spouse as a bonus. So there's a lot of value there, y'all. Well over $6,000 in value that we're doing for you. It's $19.97. You're going to get land trusts and personal property trusts. Now, one thing that Gary and I talked about was getting a combo bonus. So in this tonight only arrangement that we made is that you can get a combo bonus. Now, those of you who take action now, I just want you to go to your chat box and say, I want it, Lou. And then we will follow up with you. I want it. And this is a combo bonus. This is take action now. And what we're going to be doing for you is giving you a $200 additional discount tonight when you get the combination of the land trust and the personal property trust. Now, yes, you can buy them independently, one at a time, but you can get the combo discount. Plus, we're going to do you one better. We also agreed that you are going to get a travel allowance to be able to come to the Millionaire Jumpstart. So what that means is you're going to apply an additional $200 off tonight. You're going to get and we're going to apply it tonight, so you don't even have to come to Millionaire Jumpstart to get this extra $200. So now we're up to not only thousands of dollars in bonuses that I've given you, because remember, this adds up to about $6,600 in bonuses, or excuse me, in value that you're getting for $19.97. No, now you're getting it for $15.97. So the final price tonight is $15.97. This is your investment, and this gives you the opportunity to truly take advantage of trust in the way that they are designed. Privacy, protection, probate avoidance, and profits. By the way, there's a whole section in land trust just on the subject to buying property subject to the existing loans safely. You see, it's trusts that allow you to buy without the lender being able to call the loan due. So I have a whole section starting on page 148 just focused on buying property subject to the existing loan. So you're going to transfer your home, your vehicle, your bank account into trust. And then you've got other rental properties, move those into trust. And then it's about the family at that point. Then we get the family, and I talk about even how to get your family involved in this as well. So there's a process that we go through, and I'm giving you everything to do that with. It's the full system the land trust, the personal property trust, and the living trust. Now, remember that all of this, so you can go to streetsmartinvestor.com/Gary or call 1-800-578-8580. Or the third way is simply to put in the chat box there, I want it, and we will follow up with you. I want trust combo. I want trust combo, and we will follow up with you. Now, Gary, I talked as fast as I could. I know we got a late start, but I wanted to make sure that everybody got all the goodies here, and definitely we are available to answer questions, whether that's tonight. I don't know what Gary wants to do, but I'm happy to do that, or we can postpone that for Sunday night. Remember that all of you will be invited to the Sunday night call. So you'll be on that Sunday night call. You'll already have your system at that point. You'll be able to start the implementation process. More than happy to support you on doing exactly that. The way that I know that I have helped your life is when you tell me that you've done the transfer into trust. It's the most powerful thing that you'll ever do in your life. It's the most important thing you could ever do, setting your family up for success, setting your family up so that they do not have to deal with the pain, the suffering, the delay of probate. And the fact that you're taking advantage of this is a very, very smart move. And I congratulate you for taking advantage of this, because, hey, now is the time for you to be able to truly grow your business. Now, remember, here's what we're doing for you. You get the land trust, the personal property trust, you get the audio CDs, you get the forms in digital format, you get the weekly training with me, and you get all of those goodies as a bonus. The extra Millionaire Jumpstart, 2 tickets, not 1, but 2 tickets to come to that, as well as the bonus of the bank account, the trust bank account, and then working with your spouse without killing them. But remember that tonight, take action now. You're getting the apply the $200 plus the travel allowance, giving you $1,597 as your investment. How many of you think that's a good deal, baby? Think about what, yeah, baby. Awesome. Well, think about what an attorney would charge just for one trust. Now, here's a powerful thing. Say, well, how does this work, Lou, if I want to make sure that it works in my state? Well, how many of you think it's going to be a lot cheaper for an attorney to review documents rather than create the documents? So that's another thing that allows for that. And by the way, we've got the notarization requirements for all 50 states. We've got a deed for all 50 states. We've got everything that you need to cause your business to occur. And that's what we're big into, is causing your business to occur and giving you the tools to be able to do that with. And certainly every Sunday night, we're supporting you in implementing that as well. So let me bring up
Lou. I just want to tell everybody here, my first trust I ever had created, I did go to an attorney, and it cost exactly what this cost here. And it wasn't even close. I mean, I had exactly one trust agreement that was for one purpose. It would have been good for receiving that the second, the trust under the water, the first was more where you put in the beneficiary rights. You know what I mean? That's the trust that would have solved, and none of the others, guys. And I also want to tell you this, I know people personally that have done this with Lou before over the years, many people, okay, successfully. In fact, there's one on the call tonight. So how about that? But in any case, this is definitely, this is what I endorse. That's the reason I have Lou on, because I have known of him and know him, and went and drove. Literally left at, what time did I leave in the morning? I left at 3:30 or 4 in the morning, Lou, that day.
Right. Yeah.
Come to Atlanta. Yep.
Come to Atlanta and meet with me. And it was fantastic. We had a wonderful day together. I am just amazed at what we covered. A lot of ground that day for sure, right, Gary. No doubt about it. But it was wonderful spending that time with you and talking about, your vision for what you're doing is just amazing. And all these folks are so blessed to have you in their life. It's just terrific.
Yeah. The other thing too, guys, is uh, there's more to come. I mean, Lou, can we briefly just tell them about the becoming a certified affordable housing specialist? That's something that some of you heard about this back in January. Tony Moore, and I think there was a few others that heard what I heard at the same time. And I'm telling you, there's a way you can help your community, the people in your community, own homes, and you can still profit. The reason I like it is, my motto is prosperity through service. Serve first, and you shall prosper as a result. And this is one of those ways to do it. So, um, yeah, I mean, I tell you guys, this is just the beginning. So, and any questions? If you got questions, guys, boy, you've got the grand master here. Lou's one of the guys that all the guys you see on infomercials go to. you know,
A lot of
so
them got started with me for sure. And
yep,
they got my whole enchilada, and they learned how to do the business and what have you. And we have evolved into the certified affordable housing provider. Very proud of that. We're helping
yeah,
people to obtain home ownership, and it's highly profitable too for those of
yeah,
you who not only want to do good but do well as well. I've got even a book. It's called "Doing Good While Doing Well." This is
yeah,
my Amazon bestseller. But the idea is how real estate agents provide a service and make money as well. So you are providing a service to your community when you're helping them to end up with home ownership. And certainly it's a lot of the people that you're working with that have less than perfect credit. They definitely could own a home through you. You can be the conduit to cause that to happen in your world, in your community. And certainly taking all the other agents' leftovers is a very profitable and an exciting process. You're changing people's lives, you're changing families' lives, you're changing generations to come because of who you are in your local community. So
yeah,
definitely want to teach you about that. That is one of the things that we cover at Millionaire Jumpstart and on the Sunday night calls as well. You'll meet a lot of other certified affordable housing providers from all over the country that are on those calls. You're going to be amazed at what they're doing in their local communities. And this is a nationwide thing too. So you don't even have to invest just in your backyard. You can do it in other places as well.
yeah. Hey, there are a couple of questions coming in, Lou, and Rob. I think I know the answer to your question is, can this replace an existing trust? And I think, Lou, there may be a way for Rob to still use his existing trust that may be repurposed. But is that? I know you'd have to look at more detail, but is that the case? That
Rob, probably what you have is a living trust, and a living trust is fine. One of the problems with a living trust, though, is when assets are transferred to a living trust, it's putting all your eggs in one basket for the public to
mm-hmm.
find and the public to sue. Far better to keep that trust, but make it a beneficiary of the individual land trust.
Right?
So, what happens is that if those properties or if that trust is already funded with those assets, it's so simple. It's just deeding out of the trust and into the individual land trust. But again, we can keep that living trust as the beneficiary of those various land trusts. So now you just took that living trust below the water line for nobody to see.
Yep. And Lou, here's another one. This came up the other day. So when you have a property in a trust and you want to, the old way, traditionally, you would sell the property if you want to, sell the property and cash out. But really, one of the things you can do now, guys, is you can transfer or assign the beneficiary rights. Is that right, Lou? You can sell the beneficiary rights. You're not selling the income stream, you're selling the right to the income stream, right?
Exactly right, Gary. And this is a very powerful thing with trust. Once
Yeah.
these land trusts, particularly, once you uh, purchase it or you transfer into the land trust, then what happens is now that real estate is owned by that trust. But the beneficial interest can be sold, it can be leased, it can be
Yep.
traded, and nobody sees that transaction occur on public
Yep.
record. So it makes it a very powerful way that you can transfer assets without having anybody know anything about it.
Guys, that's one of the biggest, the not well, it's not a secret anymore, but years ago, guys, this was only stuff the affluent did. And I'll tell you, my family, my father's side was affluent. We've had trusts going back into the 1700s. Okay. My mom's side, smart people, hard workers, had no plan, nothing. The plan was to die broke, So I can tell you my dad's side of the family, I've seen farms and things like that and stores, entire chains of stores, jewelry stores, hardware stores, you name it, music stores get transferred through trust to children and grandchildren, and nobody paid taxes on the transfer of those beneficiary rights. Okay. On the income you get as a result of having that right, yes, you do have to pay income tax if you pull the money out. But what I'm saying is the assignment or transfer of those rights, Lou, as far as I know, that's not a taxable event. You're just simply transferring the beneficiary right.
Well, there's some interesting things, and different people have different needs. I always start people off with the land trust and the personal property trust. And then when we get into their world, we can find that they may need some deeper education. Earlier, I talked about the elite trust for a moment and mentioned the elite trust, that for some people, that's going to make sense because it's a generational trust and it passes from generation to generation. And the kids don't have control over the money. So it's it doesn't matter who they marry, who they divorce, doesn't matter who sues them or whatever, because the trust owns everything. And if you think about the Kennedys, the Rockefellers, probably the Trumps, the big money is definitely kept in trust, and it's not revealed to the public. It's transferred from generation to generation, and the kids cannot mess it up. That's what the real wealth in this country does, is they keep it out of the hands of the kids. And but that's the elite trust. With the land trust and personal property trust, we get you going with this so that you've definitely got your estate planned and you got it working. And then when you've got certain level of assets, it makes sense then to graduate to a different type of structure. We can't hear you, Gary. You're on mute.
Sorry, I had a, sorry, I forgot about that. How about it, guys? You guys like this class? That was a lot of information, a lot of education. So,
yeah, good stuff, Susan and Rob. Thank you so much. Appreciate that confidence.
Great information. Thank you so much, Lou and Gary. I was in the process of hiring an attorney to help me with the trust. So,
yeah, baby.
And yeah, baby is right.
Well, John, I'm glad you shared that, because you are very powerful in this way. A lot of people turn something over to an attorney and they have no idea what they did. And then what happens is when someone passes away, they have no idea what the attorney did. So what do? They go to the attorney and they say, what did you do? And then pretty soon now the attorney is probating the very thing that was not supposed to be probated. Yes, just because it can avoid probate doesn't mean that an attorney will not go ahead and probate it. So the family needs to be aware. And what I found is hey, we're talking about the money here. We're talking about the assets here. You need to know where you are burying your bones, and the family members need to know how the bones are buried and what happened with that. They don't need an attorney who knows everything and they know nothing. No, the family needs to understand this, and the family needs to know what you are doing for them. And so you're brilliant, John, in thinking that one through, because it's something that a lot of people don't think through.
Yep.
Well, we actually hired an attorney to put one property in a trust, just like you said. I don't know exactly what she did, but I know at least $1,000 to do it.
Exactly.
Yep.
That's all you know.
Right.
And that was one trust, and is not a rinse and repeat. So now you have to go back to them to do another one. With this one, you have the ability to have these in your hands, and you can just go ahead as you acquire additional properties. You'll just be acquiring them into trust as you go.
Yeah.
Great. Who else has a question? Well, thank you, Gary, for the opportunity to share with your folks. I always hope that my goal is to make a difference in the lives of everyone that I come in touch with, and hopefully I've made a difference in people's lives tonight, and supporting them in making this move is the best pay it forward I could ever do, because this is the most powerful thing I have learned in my life is what trusts are, how they work, and how they can fend off a lot of issues that can happen in life for sure.
Hey, Lou, before you have one more question, and it's about the Certified Affordable Housing Provider Program.
Yes, sir.
Do we have to wait till August?
No, no. In fact, you can go to certifiedaffordablehousingprovider.com and you can actually learn more about it there. And there's a lot of details, and there's a whole lot on my YouTube channel as well. So streetsmartinvestor.com/LouTube or streetsmartwiz.com/Lou, LOUTUBE. Will take you over there. And then you can have fun with a lot of videos that I've got that teach and train you on that one. And then when you get on board with us, we actually have those Sunday night calls archived, so you can go back and listen to all those trainings as well.
Awesome.
Hey, Lou, can you put the links for those in the chat box?
Sure.
Okay.
Absolutely. Let's see here. Where is that?
Yeah.
It's here somewhere.
If you don't see chat, click on the more button and you should see the chat there.
There it is. Okay. It's in a different color. Wow. This is good stuff. Now I can see what everybody's doing. See you in Pittsburgh. Yeah, baby. That's great stuff. All right. All right. So let's see. Street Smart. Good.
So this is Ron in Pittsburgh.
Yes, sir, Rob.
I can't take action tonight. I need to talk with my business partners. How long is the 1997 good for the entire system that you have on the screen?
It's 1997 is available online. Just get with Gary. He said, Lou, I want to take care of my folks, and just get with Gary, because I would love to extend that to you as well. I want you to get the bonus of coming to the Jump Start for sure, the 3-day training. So yes, just get with Gary when you're ready. Don't wait too long. And that's Rob. How do I change?
What we did, Ron, is we recorded it because we have agents on the team now. They're in Hawaii and all over, and they just can't all make it. Monday nights, some of them have stuff with their kids and everything. So we recorded this and also agreed, thankfully, that we would keep it going for a day or two, just to make sure everybody had a chance to watch the recording. And some people just need that validation time or time. Talk to your spouses. I mean, I know plenty of couples that they had that agreement and commitment, and I know Lou would agree. He's married too. You do that first. So you're okay for them, but really by the end of the probably what is it, Monday night, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we're going to probably be wrapping things up, because we're lucky to have Lou. We're not the only people Lou deal with. I mean, this is a total gift, so he's got other people he's got to deal with in other groups. So we want to be respectful to that and make sure he's cleaned up with us so he can move on to the next group of people, So, because I know what that's like. I've done that before, and it can be a nightmare when you're trying to juggle too many people from too many different groups, So
Absolutely. And I've really enjoyed this. And Gary, out of your, willingness to come drive all that way from Tampa to Atlanta and spend the day with me was just a great gift to me as well. So I'm happy to pay it back in a small way, that I could come tonight and just share some of this knowledge with everybody. I like I said, the government forced me to learn about trust. I probably never in my life would have learned about trust if it hadn't have been forced upon me. And I think it's one of the best blessings that ever happened in my life, because nothing like this existed at all. And of course, attorneys pretty much kept this secret because they really wanted you to do LLCs or corporations or limited partnerships, because they not only make the setup money off of that, but they make the annual money off of it as well. And they don't make money off of trust. It's just like they do it and it's done, and they don't make any more money off of it. So they don't love trust as much as they love their other entities. But once I found this out, and I said, man, if I can share this with other folks and just really wake them up to what this is, they've heard the word trust before, but they never really knew what it was or what it could do and how powerful it is, then it's a whole different world. And I'm just excited that I could share that with you tonight.
Oh, Lou, I'm sorry. I do have a question.
Sure.
So there's a small group of us that's looking to put together a basically like a private equity fund. And spoke with the attorney today who was looking at doing the paperwork. And she had mentioned about setting up the corporation as like a limited partnership or some other entity. Would a trust be available to be utilized when you're basically from accredited?
Let me give you an amazing answer to what you just asked. Imagine that what you were doing is a joint venture, and it's a joint venture of entities. So let's think of it this way. Let's say that joint venture is going to purchase an asset. All right, so now we're going to purchase that asset in a land trust. Now, the beneficiary or beneficiaries of that land trust could be a whole variety of entities. So, for example, yours could be a personal property trust, and each party that has an interest in that trust, one could be an LLC, one could be a limited partnership. So there's a lot of different parties that could be beneficiaries of that land trust. And here's what's cool about that. It's not on public record, right? Nobody knows who the beneficiaries are of that land trust. And how they play nice in the sandbox is, and this is in your trust system, there's a beneficiaries agreement. So what happens is, similar to an operating agreement of an LLC, there's a beneficiaries agreement where all the beneficiaries come together to agree on how the money is spent, how the money's divided, who gets hired, those kind of things. It's all in the beneficiaries agreement. There's also a management agreement. So who's going to manage the assets? That's in the system as well.
So that's all in this system here?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's all in there. It's a beautiful thing.
Wow.
And in fact, one of the things that Gary brought up about that the beneficial interest can be sold. Well, here's another one. It can be collateralized. So you can actually borrow against the beneficial interest of a trust and use that as collateral. And the loan is not even published on public record. So that's another powerful thing. And that's called collateral assignment of beneficial interest. And yes, that's in the trust system as well.
Okay.
Oh, there's some depth to it that I didn't get into tonight for sure, but I got to get people grown up to trust first. And John, as we're implementing this, definitely on the Sunday night calls and what have you, I'll be right there to answer questions for you as you go.
Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to it.
You are welcome. You are welcome. I'm looking forward to working with you as well.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Okay, guys. Let's see. We've got a lot of chat box activities. So I think what I'll do, Lou, is I'll have Beverly send this.
Okay.
Just so we have a proper record of all the chats that went back and forth, because it was a lot. I was trying to keep up. Yeah.
That's good.
And then you and I can maybe touch base maybe in the day tomorrow or something. I know you're busy, but for everybody who's still on here, this is so vitally important, especially with what's going on in Washington right now with 531 exchange, capital gains. This was a way for you, you've heard about buying within self-directed IRAs, you've heard about using Roths and all that kind of stuff. It's all good, but there's nothing that compares to this as far as anonymity, protection, legally, minimizing your tax burden on your investing activities. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. So I did it years ago. I didn't even know what I was doing, and it cost me as much as this whole thing cost, and all I got was one trust document for one purpose. That was it.
That was one document, right?
That was
So
it.
you've got
Yep.
the appointment of trustee, appointment of successor trustee, declaration of trust and land trust agreement, instructions to closing agent. We've got every aspect. We've got a deed. We've got the affidavit of trust that gets recorded
Yep.
along with the deed. All of that stuff is exactly what you need to make this work. And then to keep it rolling as well, we've got the extension of trust. We've got the resignation of trustee, the termination of trustee, anything that might happen inside the operation of your trust. We've already got the documents in there for you as well.
Yeah, it's actually a lot easier than they think, guys. When I did one before, I was thinking at the end, I think, wait a minute, that's all there is to it. There's no special process. And the lawyer said, nope, that's pretty much it. That's what you got. And when you record something, you got to record it, and that's pretty much it. I thought, you got to be kidding me. No tax return. He said, nope, you still pay your own tax, file your own tax return, and it just know this. Once you really learn it, guys, you're going to be surprised the more how powerful it is, but also how easy it is. You don't have to be a genius to learn this. So in any case, I'm excited about this, and it looks like you guys are too. So I'm happy for you, and can't wait to get this rolling. So,
well, it's a brilliant move in your life. It's a brilliant move for your family, and I just commend all of you that are taking the step to cause that to happen in your world, because it's important. And Gary, I'm glad that you brought up about the changes that are occurring in Washington, because it couldn't be more important right now to get your name off public record. It couldn't be more important to get yourself in a strategy that can avoid capital gains altogether. Imagine that. 1031 tax deferred exchanges are not going to be a problem when we get you on the right path with this. So there's just a number of things that are lurking, coming our way, that we've already got figured out and had figured out before it was a problem.
Yep. Hey, so Lynn Martin's got a question. If you get a mortgage, you're saying you can transfer it into the land. So Lynn, let's say you buy a property with a mortgage. What we're saying is you would put the title of the property in the trust, okay? Not the mortgage, but the title to the property, okay?
So if you think of it this way, Linda, a deed comes clean until there's a mortgage put against it. Now, on public record, once that mortgage is attached to it, then when that deed now moves into the trust, well, it comes with that mortgage as well. So yeah, you won't be having to do anything to transfer the mortgage. It's just going to come with the deed naturally, because it's already attached to the deed that is now being transferred into the trust.
Tom's asking, you have to have all your property titles register under each trust. Well, I think what we were saying earlier, Tom, was you'd actually put one property per trust. I hope that answers your question.
That's what I recommend, Tom. It just makes more sense to, when you have the opportunity to anyway, to separate the assets from one another. Now you have created the ability to avoid them being attached to each other. So if you think of it this way, if somebody sued an entity like an LLC, for example, let's say you got 10 properties in that LLC worth over $1 million. Somebody sues, they get $1 million judgment. Guess what? They get all 10 properties. But if you had individual trusts and they sue one of those trusts, even if they get $1 million judgment, they may only get that one asset. So you definitely want to think in terms of having your assets separated from one another so they can't contaminate one another.
Luke, I have my assets under LLCs with
Right.
with a trust umbrella over everything. And now what you're saying is have it reverse, have it under separate trusts and at the end LLC bank accounts. Did I get that right?
So think of it this way, Tom, that I would never want you to have, like, if you had 10 properties, that you would have to have 10 LLCs, because now you've got annual dues, annual fees, and annual tax returns with each one of those LLCs. But in this case, what happens is that instead of having all your eggs in one targetable basket, right, on public record with everything there together, instead, you're deeding out of the LLC into individual trusts. You can still keep your LLC, but we're going to keep that as a beneficiary of the individual land trusts.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Sure thing. Anyone else?
How does the trust avoid the capital gains tax? Maybe I missed that part in the presentation.
Well, that's not this trust. So this trust is a flow through. This land trust and personal property trust flows through to the tax return of whomever is the beneficiary. So if the beneficiary is an LLC, for example, the LLC files a tax return. If the beneficiary is you file the tax return. So in the case of a land trust and personal property trust, it does not avoid the capital gains. Now we do have the elite trust that does avoid the capital gains 100%. And so you think about some of your folks that you're working with to list their properties. One of the reasons they won't list is because the taxable event is going to occur, because they're going to have tax recapture and all kinds of other issues. Well, there's another kind of trust that I can teach you about. It's called the elite trust. And that would be a great vehicle for those kind of folks that would 100% avoid the capital gains. But it's a different animal than the land trust and personal property trust. And we share that with folks when the time is right, so to speak, when their estate is the right size, when they're looking for a vehicle that can avoid that, then they're going to be getting the benefit of all of that with that type of vehicle that's different than this type of vehicle.
Okay.
Great. Good group of folks for sure, Gary. I love, and you know, I've worked with real estate agents for decades, and we've just done some very, very powerful stuff together. So I'm looking forward to working with your team for sure.
Yeah, well, we're a special group. We're all entrepreneurial and think outside the box. We're all investors, or some people want to be investors or on the team because they want to learn to do that. And so I couldn't be more thrilled. This was something, actually, John Perry and I designed this probably 12 years ago.
Wow.
On a whiteboard in Pittsburgh. The whole scenario, not exactly, but pretty darn close. And he called me up about 2 months ago out of the blue. I hadn't seen him in, I don't know how many years, 6, 7 years. And it was one of those godsends. And so much has happened, Lou. Where the Healing House Foundation is officially coming to light. The gigs, all this stuff is, as a result of this group of agents here. We call ourselves global investor agents because we're literally are around the world.
Well, I love how, it marries so beautifully with what we're doing too, to help people end up with home ownership. So that gift that you're giving to the community and to the people that are in your network as well. Just imagine we just expand that a little bit to stay in the lane of real estate and say, hey, how can we help people and benefit as well? Become the bank for your customers and receive the income, not only off the sale of the property, but over a very long period of time by being the bank for them. And the income is tremendous.
You got it. Well, listen, guys, can you give Lou a pat on the back and a hand raise and a amen? Because this is
And Lou, thank you.
we got a lot of bonus material out of this one. I don't mean the program, but I mean the Q&A here. Pretty compelling stuff. So I'm still seeing questions about title insurance. And so listen, the title insurance is on the property. So you don't actually, like if you sell beneficiary rights, the property's still in the trust with the same title policy, So there's just a lot of, I think once you think about this, guys, and sleep on it, pray on it, you're going to think of all kinds of benefits, and it's true, you know.
Actually, a good point to bring up, Gary. There is a section of the book called Financing and the Land Trust. That means borrowing money, actually using the land trust. There's also insurance and the land trust, so how the insurance works. There's also homestead exemption and the land trust, being able to still keep your homestead exemption. Absolutely not an issue. Setting up a bank account using the personal property trust. Hey, not an issue. And we tell you what to say and how to say it so that you can set it up without having a lot of fees involved in it with the bank either. So definitely there's some things that when you know them, you're going to be very happy that you know them, and you're going to really be setting yourself up for a great future for yourself and your family as well. So congratulations on making those decisions.
Thank you, guys.
I was muted again. Well, you're welcome, guys, and thank you for participating. Congratulations for participating too in the program. You're gonna, you know, even just on your own properties. I mean, you know, part of our deal is you buy properties when you're on a team. So, you know, this is all part of that. So you got to play offense and defense, and this is a little bit of both, but definitely on the defensive end. There's no better defense than this, you know. So.
And being able to take over existing financing on property is a very powerful thing.
Right.
Not going to banks and not qualifying for loans. It's one of the most thrilling things I ever teach people.
I wonder if Carlton Sheets wasn't there on Congress that day to slip that little piece of legislation in there. You know.
Tell you what, I wish we still had them NE and Q loans, but we do. It's just in a different form.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the part about the trust, you know, the lenders not being able to call the note due when it's in a trust like that. That was our protection. That was some entrepreneur must have been in there somewhere looking out for us.
Now,
You know?
I'll tell you who it was. I'll tell you exactly who it was, Gary. It was Congress. Congress itself uses trusts. All those elites use trusts.
Oh, yeah.
And they wanted to make sure that the bank couldn't call the loan on them. So they put that exemption in there so they could make sure that they still wouldn't be messed up and they could take advantage of the trusts, borrow the money, and take advantage of the trust too. So that's the only reason that's in there is Congress said, no, hold on, what about us?
Yeah.
We're going to do this for the little people. We're going to cause them to have to refinance and give the banks all kinds of new dollars when they set up a new loan. But hey, for us, we want to be able to have our cake and eat it too. Well, guess what? When that exists, it exists for who? All of us. It's just a matter of discovering those things. And once we discover those things, it's available for all of us. And that's why I like to be an emissary to bring that information to everybody that I can.
Amen.
Bill's spinning, and I just have to ask one last question. So with the private equity fund, if it's set up as, like, for example, an elite trust, and the beneficiary are people that own cash value life insurance, or they're borrowing against their life insurance cash value tax-free and then lending it to this trust, when the trust exits the property deals, does that essentially potentially become a tax-free?
Yeah, it potentially does, because here's what happens when the property sells. All of the money goes back to the trust. The trust now can reinvest that money, because here's what's key to know about the elite trust. It is a tax deferred environment already. So the fact that it's already tax deferred means that the money comes into it and it stays there until it gets reinvested. So there's no 45 days, 180 days brain damage with a 1031 tax deferred exchange. It's just right there. It can lend out, it can purchase real estate, it can do anything that any vehicle can do, really. And the proceeds and the profits go back into the trust.
Wow. Okay.
And here's what's powerful. With an
Yep.
elite trust, the trustee of the trust is the controller. With a land trust, it's the beneficiary that's the controller. But with an elite trust, it's the trustee that controls everything, makes all the decisions on what to pay. So if you think about it this way, a family, let's say that you have a family fortune, and what happens is that money now is just rolling inside the trust, and it continues to invest in what have you. Now we're thinking about the Hiltons and the Kennedys and the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds and all of them, right? So they use the elite trust. Now in their world, what's happening is the trustee controls everything. So the kids, let's say it's time for them to go to college. Well, the trustee just pays for the college. It's time for the kid to have a house. The trust and the trustee buys the house. The kid moves in and enjoys the house. Maybe they get married. Great. They enjoy the house, but they don't own it. The trust owns it, and the trust controls it. So they get divorced, they move out, whatever they do, the trust still owns that asset, and it goes from generation to generation to generation. Very, very, very powerful way to set up, an estate for the future.
Phenomenal. Unbelievable.
It's one of the most amazing things I've ever learned about. In addition to trust, is the elite trust on top of that, for sure.
Thank you so much
You
for
are
all.
welcome. You are welcome. You won't even be able to sleep tonight, will you?
No, tonight.
That's right. That's right. Well, I love turning people on to this because it's just it's a favorite topic for me, for sure. And once you get it, oh my gosh, your life will never be the same.
Yeah, I can see how it changes lives, generation lives.
Amen. Good stuff.
So, okay, everybody, ready for some ice cream and dreams of trust? And remember the P's and the T's. We'll have a test on this next Monday.
That's right. That's right. The 4 P's and the 4 T's.
That's it. We got some good ideas out of this too, and thanks, John, for being out for Joel also. So that definitely we'll talk to you. I think John and I'll probably give you a call one day, and we'll run some one more, at least one more thing by just to see if there's a way to combine forces on it.
Great.
So yeah, a lot of potential, and we're glad to have you as an honorary member of the team.
I'm honored. I'm honored to be an honorary member, for sure.
Yeah. Well, guys, listen, fortunately, I'm in a house that's not my own, and the owner wants to.
And they want to kick you out.
I'm actually in a room that I'm not supposed to be in, but that's okay. This has been one of the best classes we've had. So
hey, spread the word. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right. Take care. Take care,
Thank you,
everyone.
Lou. Thank you, Gary.
Have a good night, everyone. We'll see you Wednesday night on the GIA team launch for all your guests. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.